welcome back to the Legends Comicast. We were actually voted this year's top independent Comicast by IGN, Comic Book Resources, Newsarama, Think Geek, Bleeding Cool, GameStop.com, Best Buy,
And Victoria's
Nambla,
Secret.
tons of other things.
He was definitely
the
on
list goes
Facebook.
on and on.
If I'm just doing the ones I remember off the top of my head, so I'm pretty pumped about that. Thank you guys again for tuning back in. It looks like we have literally 500 people in the Comic Cast room right now, so that's pretty good. I'm lying because I think that if people think that there's more people like watching, maybe they'll watch later because everyone else is doing it. It's peer pressure.
It works.
So yeah, 500 people on right now. Don't look it up. That's a real thing. So with me as always, I'm Nicholas Isolde, host of the show. Cool guy all around. With me is Mr. Christopher Bird.
Hello, and can I thank Garrick for removing the gooby pictures of Jordan and I from last week?
There weren't any gooby
Yeah.
pictures.
They were gooby.
They were pretty terrible.
Oh, you mean the YouTube pictures?
You know the pictures.
Those weren't me. That was Nick.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Don't act like you don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe it was.
you're the cyborg in this group, my friend.
We also have on here Garrick Gilmore
Hi.
and Mr. Jordan going on a cruise roach.
How's it going, you guys?
Hey, explain
jealous.
yourself on that one, Jordan. Where are you going, and why are you
Listen.
abandoning us?
I'm going to the Caribbean, however you want to say it, for a few days. I just needed to get away, Just needed to get away.
The stress of being
I know
famous
it's going
and
to
getting
be
to 'em.
I know it's going to be hard to do this without me, but I'm sure you guys will manage next week.
All I'm saying is that the least you could have done with all of the money that we're making from this is bring us along with you.
I find it a little convenient that it's on a Thursday as well. So
Yeah,
But then there's
I just find it offensive that you didn't even ask.
There's no
Permission.
podcast at all if I bring you all with me, so that
There
doesn't
it
make much
is.
sense.
Well,
I
there's not
know
gonna be
you guys are
any
going to
more-
have you'll have maybe 3 viewers when I'm not here, but it's okay.
300
It's okay.
maybe.
Only 3 less than we normally have.
Eh.
So.
there's things are things, all I'm saying is that this could very well be your last podcast. It is what it is.
It might
Just
be.
kidding. Just kidding. All right, so we have a fun-filled comic book podcast ready for you guys this week. We're going to be talking a lot more about film this week than comics, so a lot more about comic book related film, things of that nature. It's kind of a slow week in comics, and we kind of decided as a group that we weren't going to do as many comic book reviews on the show anymore because we typically tend to draw on and on and on and on about them when you guys can just go out and pick them up yourselves. So what we've decided to do in the future is what we have been doing. We're going to review comics separately on independent videos. We're going to go ahead and put those out on the net and let you guys check them out that way so that the main cast doesn't end up being 4 hours and 55 minutes long every week. And we know that you guys have things to do, and sometimes, maybe you're trying to get caught up on your DVR and what's on there, and you can't do it because you're listening to us, and we're so compelling that you just can't turn it off. I understand that. I get that. But,
Preach.
we feel like we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna lighten up on you guys for a little bit. So, the first thing I want to mention is, again, same thing I kind of mention every single solitary cast is I want to thank you guys who tune in every week, all 500 of you, for supporting us. It means a lot. This is something that I look forward to every week. It's what drives me through the week. So it's huge for me. It helps us out. All the support that you guys give us is the reasons that we keep doing it. We're getting a lot of feedback. We're getting a lot of questions asked to us, and it's been really fun for us so far. Plus, it gives us a chance to panic at the last minute every Wednesday and Thursday and then yell at each other violently. So it's pretty cool. It's great for building friendships and then destroying them violently. Okay, At the bottom of the page, you guys will also see our donate to Deadpool button if you guys have some extra money, which there's 500 people on there. One of you has to be rich. That's just a scientific fact. Those are the law of averages by now.
Yeah, 1 in 500 people owe us money, for sure.
Yeah. At least somebody on there probably owes us money. So go ahead and click the donate to Deadpool button, type in your almost everything that's in your savings account. Go ahead and just put it in there because Papa needs a new laptop and some equipment for us to do this thing right.
And
Anywho,
we can afford to go on more cruises.
Yeah. So far, only one of us can afford to go on cruises, which is frankly, it's a little bit outrageous. Do you guys want to go ahead and start the discussion about what we got going on this week?
Yeah, Chris Bird, would you like to start the discussion this week?
No, not at all.
All right, well, I'll do it.
All right.
The first thing we're going to talk about is the new and exciting images that came out from X-Men, Days of Future Past. And the first one I have up on the screen is Xavier. What do you guys think about the look that we see from this?
Before we start, Garrick, if we can, I kind of want to give people a little bit of a background on Days of the Future Past.
Sure.
And maybe get a little bit of a dialogue going on there before we start talking about the images, just due to the fact that a lot of people might not be familiar with it. And if they go into the theater and they're watching it everybody's gonna be watching it for the first time there. But if they're not familiar with the concept of Days of the Future Past, there's a lot of differences. So in Uncanny X-Men, back in the 80s, there was a story called Days of the Future Past, where it's kind of like a side shoot, and it was pretty much critically acclaimed because the premise of the story is that Kitty Pryde is about to die, and she sends her consciousness back in time to warn the X-Men of what the future is like, and basically to kind of change their ways. And it's like a post-apocalyptic story, but there's going to be a lot of changes to make it work cinematically. So as we go through these pictures, keep in mind that if we're going to try to reference some of the stuff that's in the old issues of Days of the Future Past from the Uncanny X-Force or Uncanny X-Men run. So if we do that and we lose you guys, let us know. Just let us know in the comments.
It's also important to note that the future events from Days of Future Past did take place in the year 2013, so we made it, everyone.
It's appropriate.
We did get past it.
We did make it.
So we do have this picture up there, as Garrick alluded to earlier. Empire magazine went ahead and released 25 different covers for the same issue, and they all wrap around and form this gigantic panoramic image of pretty much the entire past and future cast of X-Men Days of the Future Past. So what you see here first is the two versions of Xavier from the past and Xavier from the future. So you got what's his face, James McAvoy and Patrick Stewart. What are you guys thinking of these?
I mean, I'm a fan of both. I don't think it's hard to mess up Xavier. I'm a really big fan of the jet-propelled chair. I really like that. It's a good touch.
I've kind of been honest with you guys before. I think that the entire aesthetic of the Bryan Singer X-Men movies is goofy, and I don't usually like it. I will say, though, that I really like the backgrounds of these images. I enjoy how young Xavier's world is filled with like hope and flag-waving revolution. I don't know what's going on there. And old Xavier has like a crazy Sentinel spaceship in the sky. There's nothing but ruins around him. Though I think it's a little silly that in spite of all that destruction, it still seems to be a pretty clear, bright day in the background.
He's also surprisingly calm for crumbling buildings and Sentinel spaceships behind him.
Well, he can crush your mind with a thought, so.
That's true, but...
I want to point something out if I can. Who here has seen X-Men First Class? All of you guys?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Remember at the end of X-Men First Class when he's shot in the spine and he can't walk? Well, why is he walking in this scene? He's standing up.
I was thinking the same exact thing.
For that.
It's probably the power of the beard. He grew a beard and was just fine.
Probably the beard.
See,
Yeah.
he's shaved in the right
So is
picture.
his ability to walk dependent primarily?
Maybe
Is his
he's just stuck in
X
that position.
maybe his in addition to telepathy and telekinesis and all that stuff that Xavier has, maybe his mutant power is like the more hair he has, the more he can walk.
Yes,
That could be
because
part of it.
clearly in the right, the man is bald, not a hair on his body, and he's in a chair. On the left, it looks
Yeah.
like he should be playing the drums for the Beatles, and
I
he's
just
looking
hope-
good.
I hope at the end of this movie he gets shot in the spine again and is like, oh god damn it. Like,
Not
that's how I
again.
want this to end.
Maybe they pulled like a Batgirl, and he can just walk magically again.
That'd be the ultimate comic book. Like Bryan Singer said he's going to go in and he's going to right the wrongs of the franchise. What if that was the wrong? Like
He
he's
feels like
like
it's not
no,
okay.
that's not what happened. He didn't get shot by a ricocheted Magneto bullet. He actually tripped when he was in Arita's Italian Ice and he broke his spine that way. All right, next picture. Who
I
do we
got
have?
Wolverine.
Hugh Jackman, who is for some what's crazy about Hugh Jackman is he is 10 times more ripped now than he was when the first X-Men movie came out.
Yeah,
It's very true.
he just gets bigger and bigger every installment. Like I was watching the Wolverine yesterday, and he was so much bigger. It was ridiculous from the previous entries. It was just crazy how big he is, and you can see on the picture on the left, the man is gigantic. Do you see those veins and stuff? That's not Photoshop. That's real life.
And it's
I know.
probably Photoshop.
No, that's
bro.
real
Probably at least a
life.
little bit Photoshop.
That's real
Yeah,
life,
a little
fellas.
I like the look of future Wolverine. He has this like body armor. To me, that kind of looks a lot like the uniform that he was wearing in Uncanny X-Force, which I really liked his uniform in there. I thought it wasn't as campy as like his old brown and yellow costume or his tiger stripe famous like blue and yellow and black costume. So I like him. I'm warming up a little bit to Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I thought the only real times I ever believed in that he was Wolverine was like the first 10 minutes of the first X-Men movie when he's in that cage and he's fighting that dude when you first are introduced to him, and then the Wolverine film he actually kind of resembled more of Wolverine to me. But the rest of them I never got it.
Except when he said bub. Then you
Yeah.
just
Say
knew.
bub.
Anyone can say bub.
Well, I think
Yeah.
we've all kind of warmed up to Wolverine. We've seen about 90 movies of him. Who's next?
The next picture I have is Trask on the left and Warpath on the right.
Tyrion Lannister.
Yeah, Peter Dinklage is the man. I'm excited
I
to see
agree.
him in this film.
I think it's crazy to think about like how popular he's become because of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like now he's in X-Men as a villain, and they cast him. They basically Trask wasn't a small person in the comic books, so it's kind of cool to see him in this universe as like a ultra genius mutant hating, billionaire kind of person.
He has been a villain in a superhero movie before. He was an Underdog. In case you guys wanted to know that.
You're fired.
He was the
You're
villain
done
in
here.
Underdog, guys.
Now,
What?
Warpath, on the other hand, over here on your right, Warpath was one of my favorite members of every week, dude. Can't believe that.
Oh,
Every week it hits us. That's amazing. Anywho, sorry. You'd think I'd learn by now.
No.
So, Warpath was one of my favorite characters from X-Force when I was growing up. I just liked the way that he looked. I liked the way that he was drawn. And I ended up, I said this in our little text message group we have, but he was also the hardest action figure to find. So I think that's kind of why I liked him the most when I was growing up. But I don't know. I don't know about his design. I don't know what the deal is with his knives. He
Well,
didn't really rock a bunch of knives in the comics.
Here's the thing. I hate this picture of Warpath. I think he looks nervous. I think he looks like an insane caricature of a Native American. I don't know. Like this picture made me laugh so hard the first time that I saw it that I thought it was almost inherently offensive because of it. I don't like it.
He also
Warpath
looks a little
is a
small.
badass. And in this, he's not. He just looks like a nervous ninny. I'll
Nervous.
A
pass on
nervous ninny.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Look at him. He looks scared to be standing there.
I mean, you're
I
not
don't
wrong.
think he
He's
looks
all.
scared.
He
He looks
looks
kind of confused.
Yeah. Okay. I guess.
Maybe not
He
scared.
doesn't look like he's about to go on a warpath. That's for
He
damn
That's
looks
for
sure.
sure.
he looks like, I think that's Blink in the background there, and it looks
Yeah.
like Blink had just farted and he was left there to smell it.
Or
He was
he
like,
did, and he's
"Oh,
hoping that she
really?"
didn't notice because he was going to ask her later to go out for future coffee.
Yeah, he was gonna ask her to the Enchantment Under the Sea dance. Oh wait, that's in the past. Damn it, my Back to the Future references are off tonight.
I hope it
All
works
right,
out
next
for him.
pictures.
Next.
All right, next.
Sunspot and Toad are the next two images that we will have coming up for you.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that I hate both of these, and that's my final thoughts on them.
Dang. Can we all just say agreed and then continue to the next two?
I don't.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in the first X-Men movie, doesn't Storm kill Toad?
Well, she electrocutes him and he goes flying off.
He doesn't look like that at all either.
Yeah.
He looks pretty dead after that.
And he's.
Yeah, but I mean, but this is an alternate universe where that never
This is
happened.
true.
So
I mean,
you
I
have to
guess.
understand.
Well, and this
because
still takes
that
place
Toad
before
never
those
had
movies.
sweet wraparound Oakleys like this.
You also have to remember this, like this particular Toad exists before those movies take place in the timeline. So he hasn't been killed yet, or technically even met Storm yet.
I guess the
Right.
face he has is kind of Toad-like. He's just kind of like Meep.
He's
It
kind of
feels
looks
like-
like he's like down in the position to guard somebody in basketball, like he's playing basketball.
He's like, check up your
You know,
ball.
dumping on the
2-1. Let's go.
helicopter.
So we've established that he plays basketball. He has a bro mohawk, and he's rocking like weird aviator see-through sunglasses. He's now going to be referred to as Broad. So
Broad.
I did
And then,
notice too. Go ahead.
over here we have Sunspot. I don't know. I kind of like the design of Sunspot here. I like his comic book character as a mutant, and I like his powers. I think in the comics is he Peruvian?
I'm not sure. I know he is not.
I mean, he's not Caucasian.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's not.
looks.
He's
I
not a
think
white man.
I know he's of some kind of Spanish descent, South American descent, but I think he looks cool. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
I
think he
don't
looks
know.
pretty cool.
I think that character design hinges entirely on what he looks like whenever he like fully activates his powers, because he's supposed to look like a sunspot, like the
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they show
Black
him.
and
He's like
very-
all black and has the aura around him or whatever.
right. So until I see that, I mean, he's just different pyro. Like I don't
They probably
care,
won't do that. People
and he sucks.
won't
He means
understand it. I feel
they
like.
have to do that.
Yeah.
I bet you they won't.
Otherwise, he's not. Good. I mean, I guess. Never mind.
I feel
guess
like if they
Iceman was
would-
only Iceman for like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
He's Brazilian,
Ooh.
Oh,
Oh.
born and
Brazilian.
raised in Rio
It's even better.
de Janeiro.
Peru. God, what an idiot. All right,
Come on.
guys. I'll see you later. I'm gonna go sit this next one out. All right. Who do we have for the next pictures?
Storm and Striker.
Two sexy people.
Heck yeah.
All right. Well, I think Halle Berry nearly ruined this franchise, so I don't care what she looks like. I don't.
Why don't you elaborate on that, Chris Bird?
Tell us how you feel.
That's pretty much it, actually.
You're not gonna give any rhyme or reason. She just did.
So
I
there
don't
was
think that she really embodies anything that Storm is like in the comics. In the comic books, Storm is a proud African. She's not like a modernized yuppie suburbanite American like Halle Berry has portrayed her. And I also don't really, other than like Age of Apocalypse when she had that weird mohawk and she was banging Wolverine, I never remember her having this like Ellen DeGeneres haircut.
Yeah.
So like, can they not fashion like the first X-Men? She had that sweet like long white wig, and she kind of at least somewhat resembled the outward appearance of Storm.
Yeah.
But she doesn't anymore.
I want to say something about this picture we have.
I guess.
Like normally in the pictures you see a storm, there's obviously a storm going on in the background. Her cape's flying, and the wind and lightning are going on, which is kind of what's going on here. But does anybody notice that her like cape is clipped to her like wrist things?
Yeah.
What?
It's kind
I
of
mean
weird.
that is a feature of her like classic uncanny X-Men costume.
Oh,
Her
is it? Okay.
Yeah, her cape is attached to her upper arms. It
Is
doesn't
that,
look
is
that
that, does that,
obvious,
oh, okay. Well,
but
then I guess I look like an idiot. All
yeah.
right, Striker.
Moving on. William Stryker.
Can I say one thing about this whole William Stryker being in another X-Men film? Well, he's been in almost. He was in X2. He was mentioned in X-Men: The Last Stand. He was in X-Men Origins Wolverine, and now he's in X-Men Days of the Future Past. He was only in one comic book until his debut. He only made one appearance in the history of all time until his debut in X2 X-Men United. Why is this character like being driven into our face? They're like, you will like him. You will like him as a villain and you will enjoy it. I don't care about William Stryker. The William Stryker in X-Men 2 was nothing at all like the William Stryker in the comic book, and his character sucks. I hope the reason they're putting him in here is that so he can be dismembered by a Sentinel in the first scene. That would be great for me.
So
That would
is
be
this
really
the
cool.
third Striker that we've had in X-Men?
Yeah.
Indeed, indeed.
The
Oh,
first one was played by Agamemnon and the police chief from
yeah.
Super Troopers.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. And then who's the next guy?
I don't remember.
He was in
He was in
Origins.
30 Days of, he was in 30 Days of Night, the next guy.
I don't know which one I didn't like either of them. I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, next picture we
Moving
have
on.
Rogue and the not future Sentinel.
So I'm upset with this one because Rogue, I don't know if you guys have heard, but all of Rogue's parts got cut out of the movie. They've already announced that. And I actually kind of really like the way that Rogue looks here. And I don't know, it's kind of disappointing that she has a cover and she's not even really going to be in the movie.
So Rogue in the comic books, maybe and another thing too. I hate it when people do that, like, oh, in the comic books, blah blah blah. But like, you have to somewhat stay true to the source material. And I have this vision of Rogue in my head from the X-Men 1990s animated series, with the way that she talks and carries herself as being like a Southern belle. And Anna Paquin, in no way, shape, or form has ever portrayed that in any of these movies. She does a better job in the show True Blood of being a somewhat Southern belle than she does in X
Well,
Men,
she also gets incredibly naked in that show, so that's
which is
pretty
the main reason I watch it with no volume on. But don't judge me.
neat.
What do you guys think of the Sentinel bot over here?
But before we do that,
Oh, sorry,
can I say
sorry.
I actually read an article about the Rogue thing the day they announced these Empire covers. And apparently they didn't cut all of her scenes; they just cut her only important scene. Bryan Singer alluded to her still being in the movie in some capacity. She just not going to play any real role now. So I think she still shows up. She just might as well not.
Yeah,
So
buzzkill. I mean,
Sentinel. Whatever.
Sentinel is purple, so that's one thing it's
I
got
think
going
the
for it.
Sentinel looks like a walking spotlight, or I don't know, like some kind of radiator.
Air,
But I don't think it's.
some kind of duct, air
it's
vent.
yeah, it's like industrial ventilation, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His main power against most superheroes is to blow them. Yeah,
Make
let
sure
that one
Storm
sink in for
looks
a second. Get it? Blow them? Never mind.
Uh,
It was an oral sex joke. Anyway, moving along. But no, I mean, like, I guess in the grand sense of things, like, I can kind of see where you probably wouldn't want to have the traditional Sentinel design that we all know from the comic books be the first one that you see. Like, they'll probably build to that over time. Maybe you see that in another one, like later on down the line, because they couldn't have got the design perfect the first time. But for a first design, it kind of looks more like a plastic RoboCop to me than anything else.
yeah.
I'm not really digging the whole design, to be honest.
Right. Well, that's why I said initially, I think in general the character designs in the Bryan Singer X-Men movies are atrocious. I mean, First Class survived for me solely based upon its script. It was actually a decent story, and I had fun watching it. But everybody still looked like a freaking goober, except for Nightcrawler in the second movie. I actually thought he looked pretty sweet. All of those scenes were.
Kurt Wagner. He was in the Munich circus.
That's just Arnold Schwarzenegger's accent you're doing.
That's my general accent for anyone
That
from
might
Germany.
be racist. I'm not sure.
Germans aren't a race of people. They're they're a country. Anyway,
Countryist.
Next we have Mystique and everybody's favorite, Quicksilver.
So half of the people in these pictures I'm extremely attracted to. Try to guess which one it is.
Is it Quicksilver?
I really liked Jet Set Radio when I was young. So I guess that's cool.
I mean, Mystique, it's Jennifer Lawrence blue. It's kind of hard to mess it up. I think it looks fine. As far as Quicksilver goes, I feel like everybody has a problem with that. I know Jordan felt quite strongly about it.
Jordan,
are you here?
Jordan went to the bathroom, I guess.
Oh.
I don't know
I was
where
actually
he's
on
at.
mute. I forgot that I was on mute.
Oh,
It's terrible.
nice.
wow. Go ahead. Tell us how you feel about Quicksilver.
He kind of looks like he shops at Hot Topic. He looks like he's a villain from Spy Kids.
He has an 8-track player on his belt, I guess, just in case.
Yeah, his hair is more gray than it is silver. There's nothing good about it at all.
That jacket, though. Come on now, that's style.
Nah.
He has some kind of weird Nintendo DS from the past hooked to his belt, too.
I feel like this guy could be in a Nintendo Power magazine from like the 90s advertising some crazy contraption.
The Power Glove.
Yeah, the Power Glove, yeah. You could just see this guy in a commercial like, oh, yes. Power Glove. Anyway, it's awful.
Pretty terrible.
I think it's awful.
I guess
It's kind of hard to make the character of Quicksilver look like he does in the comic books, and have it be relevant in any way, shape, or form. But this is not a cool design by any means.
Is this the guy from American Horror Story?
I have no idea.
Quicksilver? Does anybody in the chat know? Let me know. I think it is. I'm not sure. And I don't want to Google
At least this sets the bar extremely low for Quicksilver and Age of Ultron.
Yep.
So hopefully that'll be much better.
Yeah, the man can just show up and not be rocking a Game Boy Pocket and some goggles, and he's good.
Anyway.
All right. Next we have Iceman and Kitty Pryde.
I'm tired of seeing Iceman not completely iced out. Like, there's no point for me to see human version Bobby Drake standing there.
I agree. Let's get some CG up in here and do it right.
I mean, that was one of my favorite parts of the third X-Men movie, was that brief, like, 1 second that you see him completely in ice form. And I feel like we need a little bit more of that.
Yeah, I don't even know what he's doing. It looks like he's trying to find his way in a dark room. It's just an awkward picture.
When I first looked at that picture, I thought maybe just kind of the way that he has his hands that he's going to actually finally slide around on like some ice slides that he makes, but I don't know. That would be nice.
You know, I posted this on a forum yesterday or something. I don't remember when it was, but I really like the idea of, in the comic books, when he can't control changing back and forth between his forms and he has to stay as Iceman. Like, I guess it doesn't really lend itself too well to the actor trying to be recognized, but we've never really seen him stay in ice form for longer than like 10 seconds on screen. That's what people, if you're going to put Iceman on the screen, have him turn into ice. Like, that's what people want to see. Like,
yeah, this is just man.
His name is Iceman. It's not man.
He's lacking all the important parts.
Yeah. What are we?
I don't know what he's ice beaming in that picture. Like a spider, maybe. Ugh.
Grasshopper. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm just playing the role of devil's advocate here, but it looks like he's blasting rocks, turning them into ice rocks.
He's also
So,
looking straight at us while he does it. Like he's not even paying attention to what he's shooting ice at.
yeah, I mean, this is just irresponsible ice formation.
Yeah, it's terrible.
How did he even make the team with this?
I don't know.
And
It's rookie mistakes.
Kitty Pryde over here on the right, she didn't even dress up for the occasion. Like she's
on
literally
her.
wearing the same thing that she wore to the mall that day to be an X-Men.
And she looks like she's jaundiced. I mean, why is
She looks a
why
little
is
yellow.
she like glowing yellow? What's going on?
I don't know.
I have a feeling they just put her in this movie because she was in the comic book, because they really didn't do anything with her in the X-Men franchise. So hopefully they
Yeah.
do something cool with her in this movie.
Man, I still.
They
Probably.
got they got that awful quote out of the Juggernaut though.
Yeah,
That's
Oh,
about
yeah.
it.
their representation of the Juggernaut was a whole. I can dedicate a whole comic book podcast to that thing.
You're not wrong. I mean, I don't know. Her outfit here is just like brown leather pants with a matching jacket and a black T-shirt.
So
But
we're gonna take just a quick break here for 1 second. We've trashed every one of these pictures so far.
That,
I said Peter
Yeah.
Dinklage was the man.
That's true.
right.
And Wolverine didn't get it too bad.
Yeah.
All right, who are the next two pictures?
The Future Sentinel and Havoc.
I like both of these designs, except Havoc.
I was gonna say, are you kidding me?
You tried.
Havoc, he just looks like a kid in a laser tag vest. I mean,
That is, I'm pretty sure that's what they were going for.
I don't know what's going on.
His shirt's
I
too
actually
big for
do
him.
like
Can I say that?
the Future Sentinel, though. He looks a little Nimrod in the face. I had read a review earlier about what the Future Sentinel is doing there, like why it looks like he's a collection of pieces of metal. I guess apparently because he is. I don't know. I'm excited about the Future Sentinel, the Mark 10 that
He looks-
it represents.
He looks like the alien from Signs a little bit, though.
No one has seen
little
that.
The
movie.
Alien from Signs. Is
Yeah.
that M. Night Shyamalan, a ding dong
Yes, sir.
film? All right.
All right, well, moving on since no one's seen that movie. He does. He has Nimrod-esque traits, like the fish gill kind of things, looking like, I don't know, kind of liney design on him. But he's gonna have energy blasts and all kind of crazy things that he can do
Right.
that are very Nimrod-esque. If you guys don't know who Nimrod is out there, type into Wikipedia right now, Nimrod Marvel Comics, and see what the design for him is ridiculous, but the character is actually cool. He's a future Sentinel. He's like the most technologically advanced Sentinel that's ever created. He kills a bunch of mutants. He's pretty much single-handedly responsible for the death of like almost every mutant. He just
Yeah, he's like a Sentinel created by Sentinels to be the most Sentinel.
That
You don't-
ever did
don't mess with
Sentinel.
him. Yeah.
and he plays for the Sentinels. Next pictures.
Starting
You're
forward. Blink and Colossus.
Blink, I don't know a whole lot about because I never followed her in the comic books. But Colossus is my bro. I like his design a lot. I'm just happy that he's turning into metal.
I don't know why Blink is even in this movie. I mean, I guess she can basically like reality hop, so she serves some small purpose, but she doesn't really play a role in the Days of Future Past. Doesn't even really play much of a role in the X-Men books. She was the lead character of the Exiles from a few years back, which is actually a really cool comic. If anybody wants to read a really cool comic, but I honestly feel she's only in this movie so that they can throw more characters in and say, "Hey, look at us. Some of you get the reference." I mean, I don't.
That's probably it.
She's completely unnecessary.
Colossus, on the other hand, is one of the better, probably the bright spot in all 25 of these covers for me. I think he looks really good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Does
Just
Blink
come-
kind of looks like Mr. Sinister? And I really want Mr. Sinister to be in a film.
well,
One day, maybe.
no.
Perhaps.
So I don't think we have any more pictures, do we? I think
Yeah,
that's
we
it,
have
right?
one more.
Oh,
Or
we
two
do.
more.
One
Many.
more.
Beast and Bishop.
All right. Well,
Eh.
Beast we've already seen. Whatever. Bit
I,
and Bishop looks a lot like Bishop.
I don't,
I'm pleased with his design.
except for his. So instead of having eyes glowing with energy and looking all badass, he just appears to have the reddened eyes of a Twilight vampire, and I
Yeah, I
hate
was
it.
thinking the
Only
same
thing,
thing. He looks
he
like
just
that.
looks like a vampire,
Yeah, I don't. He
and I'm not
looks
sure
like
out
the
of which end his
vampire.
gun is supposed to shoot either. Just
Both,
other than
maybe.
that.
Maybe it shoots out of the side or something. Do you see where
Yeah,
it's
maybe
like
just
glowing in the
running out
middle
in the
right
middle
there? Yeah.
That's
It
probably
kind
it.
of looks a little bit like a Thigh Master. So
He could
a
just
big
be
old
working
shake
on
weight.
his old glutes there. We don't know.
maybe he's just trying to get some good quad and hip strength for running away from
The
those sentinels.
Autobot Matrix of leadership.
Yeah.
I hate him. No,
Oh,
I don't know. The eyes are a little weird for me. They actually ruin almost everything about that character design. I just can't stop staring at them. Otherwise, he'd be fine. I mean, but
What are the next pictures?
That's it. That's the last
Oh, that's it.
ones.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
that is it.
Cool. So there you go. That was 36 minutes of us ripping apart the new pictures from uh, the new X-Men movie.
but I
So
think as a
if you
group, we
guys,
all really liked X-Men First Class, so we have some hope for this. Even though once again, Fox has chosen not to base their characters on the characters in the comics in any meaningful way.
I mean,
you
they
know what
tried a
I
little
just
bit
noticed?
in
We
the
didn't
last one. They
we
gave
didn't
him the
get the
yellow and black.
we didn't get the two Magneto pictures on here, and they actually looked really on point.
Oh, wait
I
a
thought.
second. You're not wrong.
It's true.
I can add them real quick.
No, don't worry about it.
It's all right. They look cool, and you missed it. So
I'm sorry, guys.
All right.
Look them up, Google.
Yeah, we'll and if you guys have questions about anything related to what else we hate later, we can answer those questions for you too.
For sure.
Absolutely.
So, next topic of the evening is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles promotional stills and stuff that kind of leaked from set. So I'm actually super pumped that they're making another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, but
whoa,
I'm
it's
not.
just a Ninja Turtles movie now.
Yeah, sorry. It is. They're no longer teenagers. They've matured. They're at least in their 20s.
At least they're not aliens.
Grown
Or they
men.
could be 11, or they could be 11
They're
or
young
12.
adults.
As long as they're not 13 through 19, they're Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
Why does this picture that we have up have four turtles all with the same color headband on?
I'm glad you asked that because as I'm probably the only person here that's currently reading the IDW Ninja Turtle series, they actually all have the exact same headband until the seventh or the eighth issue when Splinter gives them their own individual ones. It's kind of like a graduation process, and Raph keeps his color. So, but they have a little bit different of an origin story. Instead of in the comic book or in the animated television show version and the old version, it was basically mutagen hit the turtles and they grew up. They instantly basically turned into giant teenage turtles and they kicked butt and they said ridiculous things and eat pizza.
It's also kind of important to remember that in the original Eastman and Laird Ninja Turtles comic, they all had the same color headband, like the whole way through. So
Yeah.
I think they're starting with those headbands in this comic was just kind of, in reference to that.
And Eastman and Laird are writing this too, the new series as well. So if you want to check it out, it's by the same people that did it originally when it came out in the mid '80s. So it's really good. It's really well written too, but don't expect it to be like the happy, goofy comic books because they chop people's heads off and kill people and eviscerate people all the time.
Yeah, it was like that in the original.
Yeah,
It,
so it's really cool. It's a little bit more mature of a title. So you're not going to hear a lot of cowabungaing, but but you will see someone get a sword driven through their skull. So that's pretty sweet.
Mhm.
In this version of the comic book series, they're basically all four of these characters were massacred in feudal Japan, and then they are reincarnated in the body of turtles, and they're put in contact with the mutagen, and the spirits of their old bodies are kind of in there. but it's kind of weird because they still act like modern teenagers. Like they goof around and they say kind of goofy stuff like they did in the television show and in the movies. So it's a little bit more
Do they know that?
lighthearted than it used to be.
Do they
I
know
don't
that
think
they
they
were
do yet,
reincarnated? Okay, so that
but
might.
they're still their main protagonist is still Orokusaki, which is the Shredder, and they are currently living in Northampton after a battle with him where the Shredder just literally beats the ever living shit out of all of them. I won't get too much into it.
Is there literally feces at the end of the beating?
Yes. He brainwashes Leonardo into being his like henchman, and then he kicks the crap out of. Well, it's not a huge spoiler. It's like central to the story, but it's pretty cool. Check out the comic; it's awesome. Anyway, moving on to the actual movie stuff, we got some images that came out there. If you haven't got a chance to see the images, you'll be seeing them now.
Right now, they are up on the screen as we speak.
So the images that you guys see, what do you think of these designs for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Sorry, the Ninja Turtles. I don't want Chris Bird to yell at me.
Their mouths weird me out. I mean, I've only encountered so many turtles in my day, mostly just kind of catching them when I was a kid. So I guess it's probably appropriate, but it just looks a little weird to me. Everything else I think is pretty cool, but just something about their faces, especially Donatello.
His looks the most. Well, his kind of looks like a beak. I was gonna say that as well.
Yeah. So.
I think their faces are all kind of individualized now, which is nice. They don't all look exactly like the old version. Basically, you change the headband color and they're identical, or in what weapons they have on. I mean, it was probably someone's an amazing idea for somebody at the toy company to just be like, yeah, let's just make them all look identical, and then we only have to make one figure. We just change the headband color, It saved them a bajillion dollars when they're first making those toys. But here they all have their own individual look. Leonardo taking the more traditional samurai look with the bamboo, armor and the samurai kind of like armbands and shoulder pads and his sandals. Then you got Raphael, who's got looks basically like a son of anarchy. He's got these shades on. he's looking like he just lost a lot of money in a poker game, and he's real super mad.
He's not paying it.
Michelangelo
Michelangelo
looks the same as he normally does. He's kind of he's going to be the most baby-faced looking of the group. And then you guys had some thoughts on Donnie.
I think he looks like a total nerd. And he is a total nerd, but I mean that not in a good way.
Yeah, in a negative way. He's just, I don't understand why his mouth beak is so pronounced.
Compared to the rest of them,
nerds have big noses, dude. Everyone knows
in a way that the others don't. All of the others, they're like turtle skin color blends down into the color of their beak thing. His does not. It's just super pronounced.
Let's not be mean to Donatello.
I like the fact that he has Egon goggles on his head. He's gonna be searching for ghosts and all kind of cool spooky stuff.
He's playing Quicksilver in Days of Future Past.
Those are Toad's glasses that he borrowed.
You can kind of see in the back on the picture of the left, you can see a picture. If you look really hard, it's kind of hard to notice because on the picture all the way on the left, if you look really hard in the back, you can actually see there's a lot of people have been weirded out by this picture because you can see an apparition. Almost looks like Michael Bay wearing a beanie. And he is, which is how you can tell that he's a soulless ghost who ruins everything. He's right there in the frame. You really have to look really hard at it, but you can see it if you squint. All right, next picture. The picture I'm most pumped to talk about when it comes to Ninja Turtle stuff.
It's Megatron.
I believe it's Lord Zed from the Power Rangers.
So
Michael Bay had to fit a transform into this movie somewhere. He decided. This would be the place.
The Ninja Turtles' most famous villain is
Starscream.
is the Shredder, Oroku Saki. So he killed their Master Splinter and all four of them in feudal Japan, reincarnated. They're all trying to get kind of their revenge back on him. And I'm pumped. What do you guys? Of course, you have the traditional design all the way on the right. You have the character that played the Shredder in the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film in the '90s, and then all the way on the left, you have the designs that are being passed around the internet for what the Shredder is going to look like now. What do you guys think of these designs?
They're definitely something from a Michael Bay movie.
Definitely.
I'm not saying that they're bad. I mean, I can definitely see the Shredder and Lord Zed and Megatron all wrapped up in there, and they're all pretty badass. The cape's a little questionable. It seems to be made out of saw blades and a chain link fence.
His name is the Shredder.
You're right. I think it's a little on the nose. Classic cape or no cape at all would be totally fine with me. But I don't know. It looks all right. I mean, it's at least menacing. Like, I could see this guy being a total badass. I probably wouldn't play as him.
My favorite line from the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie is when they're all fighting the Shredder or they're about to fight him, and he like lands on the rooftop, and he goes, "Now you face the Shredder." And then he goes, "The Shredder? Maybe all that hardware's for making coleslaw." And the Shredder in the middle, yeah, he's got some blades on him. He looks like he could probably shred things. The Shredder on the right is literally shredding the air around him. There's so many knives and sharp, pointy things on him that he's really earned the title of Shredder. Like, he's every point on him is sharp. It looks like there's no way he can go to the bathroom without harming himself. In that
I don't
outfit.
think he can walk on carpet without getting stuck. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just summarized what happens in the third act of this film.
That's how they finally defeat him.
They drag him into a carpet warehouse and he can't make his way out. Pretty cool.
And it explodes, probably. I mean, it's a Michael Bay film, so something has to blow up.
Cool beans.
I mean, a lot of stuff has to blow up.
But
I
the screen
don't
will
know.
probably explode by the end of the film.
It's definitely a very menacing Shredder. It's at least partially, I think, true to the source. A lot more so than, say, Quicksilver was to the Quicksilver character in Days of Future Past. I don't know. I'm still a little wary of this film. I don't want to get my hopes up too high because Michael Bay will probably crush them. I invested a lot into the Transformers movies and was continuously disappointed. So
I like to think that Michael Bay is going to make at least two of the Ninja Turtles completely and utterly racial stereotypes.
Oh my gosh!
Then there's going to be a 360 panoramic view of the Shredder while he's sweating and dirty, and then the sun is setting, and then probably somebody will say something like "God damn," and then some things will blow up, and then the movie will be over.
I think you just spoiled the whole film
sound
for
like a
everybody.
Hollywood
Yeah, you
director.
ruined the whole thing.
Can I say that?
So a couple people have been quoting the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie in the chat, and I just want to let you know that if anybody here wants to go toe-to-toe with me later on in the question section and ask me to finish a quote, I can do that because I am an all-star. I've seen that movie 1,000 times.
Yeah.
What do you guys think the ultimate verdict is going to be on this movie? Keep in mind, Michael Bay I don't think he's directing it. I think he's just producing it.
I mean, anytime it's something like the Ninja Turtles, where it's something that's beloved by thousands, millions of people,
Literally
you only
hundreds.
have to, you only have to get one thing wrong, and people will hate it. And with the track record that Michael Bay already has, I feel like he already has everything stacked up against him. So if anything's off about this movie, it's going to get horrible reviews, and everybody will say it was a disaster.
Well, I mean, Megan Fox is in it. And
Yeah, that's a thing
that
that's
only-
happening.
That looks good. That bodes well.
Megan Fox kind of looks a little bit to me like she smells like hot dog water. She just looks something's a little off about her. Maybe it's all the dirt that's been put on her from the Michael Bay movies, but I don't know.
She just can't wash it off.
All right, so this kind of brings us to our next topic, and since there's not a whole lot of crazy comic book news out there right now, we did want to discuss a little bit about what intellectual properties are out there that we would like to have be either turned into a comic book if it is not already a comic book, or if it is a comic book, what we wish would be turned into like a television show or a movie. So, I think I'm first on this list to discuss, am I not?
Yes, you
You
are
are first.
first.
Okay, so the intellectual property I picked is Mortal Kombat. Um, for those of you who are unfamiliar, which is no one, and I'm a pretty big Mortal Kombat fan. Pretty much any fighting game is gonna sink me in. The first Mortal Kombat movie I thought was when I was like 12. It was the balls. The second Mortal Kombat movie, even when I was like 14 or 15 when it came out, was the worst thing I had ever seen in my entire life. It almost forced me to give up living. It was that bad. Um, I think this is a property that, with all the popularity it's had in the last couple of years, a hit web comic or a web series, a brand new video game that came out 2 years ago that was awesome. It was a really good game. I would really like to see this turned into a comic book that was probably produced by somebody other than DC or Marvel. If somebody like IDW or Dark Horse picked this up and they put the right writer on it, I think they could literally have years upon years upon years of writing potential. There's so many sub stories in the Mortal Kombat universe and so many chances for them to branch out and form a really cool story that they can turn into something. I mean, they had that god awful television show, Mortal Kombat Legacy, or what? No, it wasn't Legacy. What was it called? God, I can't remember it. It was on TNT. It was like the worst thing I've ever seen. But they have a chance with a semi decent budget to make it into a good television show that runs for a while, or an awesome comic book that's dark and brutal and gritty and has tons of death and murder and destruction. So that's what I pick. I pick Mortal Kombat because it's coming back in a big way. Anybody have any feelings on the Mortal Kombat madness?
I actually think you're not too far off the mark with Mortal Kombat. There's a surprising amount of history, of character, basically depth, in this particular series. I mean, there are a lot of fairly well thought out character relationships, and there's a lot that they could easily explore. Whether it's events that take place prior to that first major Mortal Kombat game, or the things after. I'd probably at least pick up the first issue if this were somehow comic booked.
So I think I'm going to go ahead and write the first issue.
I'm
Go
not.
for it.
Will you still pick it up, Chris?
So long as at some point some guy just screams Mortal Kombat arbitrarily and a fight starts out.
The only way it's getting turned into a television show is if the voice of Scorpion is done by Gilbert Godfrey.
And there it is.
And that's tonight's podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for
All
stopping
right,
by.
so the next person was Garrick, I think. What did you want to pick?
I decided to go with Teen Titans. From a comic
I think
book.
that'd make a good comic.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it was a great TV show. All the kids loved it.
I really liked the Lifetime series that they used to have for Teen Titans. It's pretty good.
But I think.
That was the one with Pacey and Dawson, and they were
Oh yeah,
fighting the
yeah.
tigers.
Had a great theme song.
Oh, wait for the Teen Titans to come over. Something like that.
It could work. But I think a Teen Titans movie would be great for DC. They have a lot of relatable characters in the Teen Titans, but the sad thing is I don't think it'll ever happen because, like I told you guys earlier, I don't think we're ever going to see Robin in a Batman film or DC film ever again after what happened in the Tim Burton films. Cyborg is...
You mean the Joel Schumacher films? He wasn't in the Tim Burton ones.
Oh, you're right.
Joel Schumacher ruined that shit for
Good old
everybody.
Chris O'Donnell.
Yeah.
Chris
Good old Chris
O'Donnell
O'Donnell.
Never mind. Little known fact: Christian Bale actually auditioned for the role of Robin in that movie, and Chris O'Donnell beat him. So I think Christian Bale got the
But imagine if
won
Chris
the prize on
O'Donnell
that one.
was Batman in The Dark Knight.
No.
No,
No, I'm not
tied up
going to
with
do
his-
that.
He's tied up with his commitments with LL Cool J on NCIS or whatever it is. Anybody have any thoughts on the Teen Titans movie other than knocking Garrett's choices?
No, I think Garrick's basically right. It would be cool. I don't think that the current DC universe is, I don't want to say lighthearted enough, but basically lighthearted enough to have a place for child sidekicks. Um, I could see like a Titans movie where they adapt those characters for a more adult role. But I don't see a team of 11-year-olds fighting like armed villains. I guess they're 13. But and taking bullets to the leg and stuff. Not okay. Yeah, that's
Eh.
it. The cartoon though, from Cartoon Network, stellar.
Teen Titans Go.
No, prior
I'm
to
gonna say because I hate it.
no, the real one.
Just making sure.
Yeah, no, the one that I own the entire collection of on DVD. That one.
I believe Mr. Jordan Roach the Fourth is next.
Yeah, so I went with Black Panther. So if anybody doesn't know who Black Panther is, which you should if you don't, he was really the first.
Then you're
black
racist.
Well, basically, yeah. He was the first black superhero in mainstream American comics, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby back in the 60s. There's been a lot of talk about him getting his own movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think that would be a great idea. I feel like not just in Marvel movies, but in superhero movies in general, they really lack a strong presence from anybody that's not a white male. So there's not a big female lead in any movies. Elektra doesn't count because that was terrible. And there's not really a superhero movie besides Blade that features like an African American male or an African American in general at all. And I think Black Panther would be a good step in that direction.
Sam
do you guys think?
Jackson's in Avengers.
Yeah, he doesn't count.
Sam Jackson's in everything.
Did you just
He's always in the
decide
background.
that Sam
Wow.
Jackson wasn't black for everyone?
I mean, basically, he's not. Doesn't count.
Wow.
I mean, it's easy to do. Just cast me as Black Panther.
Give me
And
$1 million.
That's about him. That's about it. You don't need to do anything else.
I agree with you. I'd like to see. I think that he has a really rich backstory. You know, he's the king of an entire nation where they mine vibranium, and there's all kinds of cool stuff, and that would give you a chance to introduce all kinds of different characters to the Marvel universe. But it would also maybe show a different side of the cinematic world that they've created, where it's not so urbanized and developed. Maybe a more kind of, I don't want to say like a jungle type atmosphere, but more of a traditional adventure movie where he's just kicking ass and taking names and finding mystical stuff and punching people in the face holes and stuff. I think it would be cool.
Exactly. I mean, look at him. He's a genius, a gentleman, and a scholar. Look at him there.
Looks like Batman to me.
It's perfect. No.
They already have a genius, a gentleman, and a scholar in the current Avengers. So
Nah.
Christoph Bird, you are the last,
okay.
but certainly not the least.
So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Fables comic. It's written by Bill Willingham. It's pretty boss. It basically is a contemporary reimagining of a lot of classic fairy tales. It takes those characters who have all escaped their world from this sort of dark lord, this Sauron-like figure, and kind of been forced into an exodus to modern-day New York, where they live in their own sort of section of the city and use a series of enchantments to stop sort of contemporary humans from even recognizing that they are there.
They have this show already. It's called Once Upon a Time. It's terrible, and I know my wife and my buddy Jason's wife force us to watch it every now and then, and it's not very good.
Once Upon a Time is different because it is bad, and does the reverse of that. Though I do think that Once Upon a Time's writers probably read Fable at some point and decided that since their own writing sucked, they'd try to do something derivative of that. This would be way better. There's a character, actually, if any of you have played The Wolf Among Us, which came out, I think it was by Telltale Games, the guys who do the Walking Dead game, that takes place in the Fables universe. It stars Bigby Wolf, who is the big bad wolf. Turns out he's not that bad of a guy. And he's a detective. I don't know that this series could make a film, but there are a ton of characters with just incredibly rich and interesting reimagined backstories that I think they could really easily follow in some kind of serialized television series. Or if they just focused on the character of Bigby Wolf, he's kind of a badass. I don't know. I'd be psyched for it. Also, the art is awesome. Look at those covers.
They are really, it is really good. I like the art.
Yeah,
Just from what I'm
you'll all
seeing.
buy it. Bill Willingham, hit me up. This is cool. I like this a lot. It's one of my favorite series. I've been reading it for years now. It's still ongoing. It's still worth picking up. Please buy it and then talk to me about it.
That sounded so sad.
Someone please.
Somebody. If there's anybody out there
None of my.
that's willing to talk about fairy tales with Chris Bird, please respond.
Yeah.
All right, so now you guys have heard all of our wishes and desires. So the people that are left here, go out and make our dreams your reality.
Just click on that
So-
donation button. Whatever. That's fine.
Call in the favors that you guys have with these movie theaters or these movie producers and get our stuff made. So now I believe it's question time. So, time for some questions.
I know we had a question from last week. Bam, here it is. As
I'm
some
only
dudes
answering new questions.
who read a lot of comics, why do you think sci-fi is such a mainstream thing in comics, but the fantasy genre hasn't really had anything break out and be as successful as its futuristic counterpart? In short, what up with that?
I think, first of all, that's a well thought out question, and I find it hard to believe. I don't know. Anyway, so I wanted to tell the audience. I was like, I know there are a couple of Brandons in the audience. There's no way they came up with that question. So clearly, someone out there is thinking. So I actually think it's because that, given the current state of the world that we live in, I think technology is just more relatable to us. I mean, we see crazy devices pop up all the time, so it's really easy to kind of suspend your disbelief and get into a movie that has crazy guns and super robot armor and all that crap, because it's all really cool. It's not that far off from being possible. I don't know. It gives us an easy thing to kind of look forward to, because I know I'm getting a robot suit the moment I can, if anyone's with me. Fantasy's fun, but it's a little harder to make believable. It's really hard to relate, I think, to characters who are like casting fireballs and riding on the backs of dragons. So I would
Maybe it's hard for you, not hard for me. I can do all that stuff.
I don't know. I think it's hard to like write a fantasy script that an audience can kind of suspend their disbelief for and really get into and almost, I don't know, become or otherwise relate to the characters. Not a lot of us, with the exception of Nick Isolde, have ever had to like slay a dragon or, I don't know, whatever. That's my take.
Yeah.
If anyone else has one.
I feel like it's a lot easier to write superpowers than it is to write magic, because you have to explain everything, and it's a lot more wordy.
Yeah.
Usually, so they have to like cast spells and say incantations and things like that, and Superman can just blow people up with lasers that come out of his eyes, and you don't have to say anything to do that.
Right, and superpowers are inherently more believable because you can just say evolution or aliens or any number of things. Or like with Iron Man, you're just like, well, sufficiently advanced technology, and he's really smart and attractive. You can't really do that with magic. You have to create a world with specific rules and laws that are different from our own, that magic can exist in, and that just takes a lot of setup and a lot of time. It's really hard to just say, and magic.
Yeah.
Agree with you.
Jordan, does anyone want to say stuff?
Then I was going to say that there's another question.
There is another question.
And it was I know that this is a troll question and I'm cool with it, but someone wrote, what do you want to see for sure in the Deadpool movie?
Deadpool?
I was gonna say the credits.
Shots fired.
Uh,
And Fox, it looks like we're going to war.
some fourth wall breaking. I want Deadpool to talk to me.
I would like to see the Marvel Studios logo at the start of that film. I think if they would just give that Deadpool property to Marvel Comics, they could probably actually make a decent or at least watchable film. But Fox had their chance and they freaking blew it. It wasn't even close.
Oh, so
I'm
mad.
not sure if Fox has the rights to Deadpool because they never really referred to him as Deadpool in that horrible
They
X-Men
called him
abomination
the
film.
Deadpool at one point, towards
Yeah.
the end. They didn't call him Deadpool, they called him the quote-unquote Deadpool.
But
So.
their rights seem kind of far-reaching. I mean, Marvel can't mention like the word mutant. I feel like the entire X-Men property, including, I mean, by default, Deadpool is in the hands of Fox right now. That's what I meant to say. I don't know. Maybe.
If Deadpool was to be made into a movie, there's absolutely positively no chance of that film being in any way, shape, or form thought-provoking. It's going to be him with a rocket launcher and a big, giant, oversized mallet slamming it on chimichangas and gorillas that are 10 stories tall and doing stupid things. So I just don't see there being a
Can I say that
possibility.
I don't even have faith enough that I think that Fox could get all the things that I dislike about Deadpool right in a Deadpool movie. They'd probably screw it up and make a movie I'd like.
I mean,
In fact, I'm wishing that that's the case. Like they purposefully try to make it ridiculous, and it ends up being.
Whoops, we actually consulted comic book authors and artists.
It's the funniest thing. Like comic book movies are so afraid to reference the stories that they're stealing things from that they bastardize these stories and they make them nothing like what readers fell in love with. So they try to put this artistic spin on it and translate it into their own property. And everyone that reads comics or has Googled what they think they're going to be seeing is a little bit let down because it has nothing to do with it, or they end up. The reason that people fall in love with these stories is because they're written well, not because of magic or chimichanga jokes or things like that.
Right.
So it's nice to see it would be nice for once for them to stay true to the source material and just kind of put something out that is an homage to what it's supposed to be.
I kind of get what they're coming from. I think homage is the right word. Like when I go see a comic book movie, I'm kind of in the same mood that I am when I buy a new Spider-Man comic. Like I don't want that issue to be the same as the issue that came before it. No matter how much I liked that earlier issue. The important thing is that they get the character right, and that be right. I mean, it can tell a new story. It doesn't have to be something I've read before. They can take a little bit of creative liberty, and I'd like it if they did. I want to see something fresh and new, but I want to see something fresh that stars the characters that convinced me to show up and buy my ticket in the first place. And I think the problem, and I think Marvel is doing that. I think they've got it dead on right now, but Fox seems to not give a shit. I honestly feel at times that they're just trying to pick up some extra money that gets left behind from Marvel's actual movies.
yeah,
and it drives me crazy
they're
because they
just
have some of
riding
the
the
cool
coattails
characters
right now.
Yeah, and it's not okay.
They just want to put out as many movies as they can to make as much money as they can while comic book movies are still popular.
Right.
Can I say something
I think
moderately
we have
unrelated?
we have time for one more question too after Jordan's comment.
I was only going to say that we almost went an entire Comicast without saying the word Spider-Man, and Chris Bird ruined it.
Wow.
We almost went the whole thing.
He
I'm not
couldn't
doing
do it.
I can't. I'm sorry. It's just the most obvious thing. Freaking Garrett Gilmore gave me all the issues of Ultimate Spider-Man last night. With, by the way, 500 audience members, if you're not reading that comic book,
What?
it's only 28 issues in, and you should be.
What's wrong with you? Please. It's so good.
It was... I mean, I'd already read the first half of the series, and I already liked it, but dang, it gets good. It gets really good. I'll let anybody who wants to borrow Garrick's issues. I don't care. Send me a text. Send me an email.
All right, so I think that about wraps it up for today. No more questions were posted. So again, thank you guys for supporting us, for tuning in. Really appreciate it. It's awesome. It's the highlight of our week. We like hanging out and pretty much making fun of everything that has to do with comic books and comic book related news. If you guys have questions for us, feel free to ask them on the Facebook page or on the YouTube video when it's posted. We're going to be doing some reviews for Arrow this week. We're going to be doing some reviews for some comic books. I just haven't decided which one I want to do yet. So it should all end up being pretty cool. If, again, since there's 500 people on here, if you want to donate, there's a button at the bottom, the old donate to Deadpool button. Click it. We like money just as much as you guys. It'll help us in our quest for
a little bit more, actually. So.
never-ending glory. So, anywho, I think that's about it. So thank you guys for tuning in, and support your local comic book store.